years maybe. I met him at an FTI session in Lake Tahoe, and he was 18 years old and about, probably weighed half as much as he does now. He was getting over a case of food poisoning, but he toughed it out and he showed up in a room full of people he didn't know and completed the course with us. Rodney came to San Francisco in 2004. I remember I was actually there when he came into town. We went out for burritos. First time he ever had that, like La Corneta.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Mission burritos. So
That was amazing.
like, and you could see what another 20 years of
Burritos. Body by burritos.
Body sponsored by burritos. But, you know, so I've seen the change in Rodney, like from an 18-year-old from Hawaii to living in California to being he's always been a minister, but he's moved up, and now as the head minister, he has a lot of responsibility. He has worked in the youth programs. He has led the youth camp for years, and I respect it. And Rodney was the best man at my wedding.
Oh.
Yeah, he was the best man at my wedding. And I know a lot about Rodney because we talk about faith. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted him to be the speaker, because I think it's a great opportunity for you. I mean, the people who are, people in San Francisco know him. People in San Francisco work with him and they talk about faith with him. But for the people who don't get that chance, I think this is a great opportunity for you. And I hope that you'll bear with us. This is something different. But, you know, after our conversation, we'll have time for a Q&A. If there's anything that, you know, one of us says that you have a question about, write it down in your notebook and ask it at the end. Because, like, what we really want to do is encourage you to think about it, because tomorrow in those workshops, we'll actually be using parts of his presentation. And I know it's not, we're going to keep it relatively short. This is not going to be an hour-long presentation. So please stick with us. I mean, there will be something interesting for you, I promise. You know, so with that, please welcome Reverend Rodney Yano.
Testing.
Sorry, our budget did not allow for the house band for him, but
We are a musician.
we would have loved to have a desk. You know, Rodney, like I've been saying, I've known you for a long time, but it was only up until you graduated high school. Can you tell me, your parents were both ministers, but what didn't you understand about this faith until you were 18 and you came to FTI? Like, were there things that your parents talked about that you didn't really understand and you just said, okay, and did it?
Yeah, one of the big things was mediation, just like with a lot of the youth here too, right? Like going to mediation, seeking mediation. There's something you do to just say hi, offer your offerings, get your bushimai, and bye. But it's bigger than that, it's deeper than that. And that happens through experience and through suffering, through going through grief, through loss, through all these things that we go through in life. We realize that we need to talk to somebody. And the minister is there so you can relay those prayers. And that's something as an adult I started realizing more and more and more. Even now, I'm still learning about the importance of mediation, how important how it could really bring you out. It gives you a little drop of hope, and sometimes that's all we need is some hope.
to, so, like, do your parents ever explain mediation to you, or was it just something that they said, come up to the cat guy and talk to Kami?
Yes, yeah, it was kind of like that, yeah. Like, if you have a problem, pray about it. Pray, talk to sensei, talk to my father at the time. Yeah, and to relay what's going on. Yeah. And it became like a routine, but when faith starts becoming your own and you start going through your own problems, that's when mediation takes on a different kind of flow or evolution in that way, where something that became routine becomes more deeper, and you start seeing the evidence of that, I guess the workings of that, as you start overcoming a lot of the hardships and struggles. Is you connected with what you see that comes in that, yeah.
You know, I guess if that's how they explained mediation to you, then were there other things about this faith that they tried to teach you about that you didn't understand until, when did you go to Honbu to become a minister?
Oh, yeah. So, I guess a little bit of background. When I was growing up, like all three of my siblings, my sister Edna, my brother David, and myself, and I'm the middle child, but all of us were raised to go to Amagi Church ever since we were little children. Even before we were born, there was a wish from the Konko Church of Amagi head minister, Reverend, former second head minister of Amagi Church, Reverend Fumio Matsui. Fumio, yes, like I said, I apologize. There's a lot of Fumio senseis. But Fumio Yasutake sensei, he had a wish. He says that when you go to Hawaii and you have kids, my wish for you is for your kids to go to Amagi and then go to Gakui. And so with that mindset in mind, my parents raised us. Just like how everyone here is raised to go to college, right? In a way, like you're raised to go to college, secondary education, further education. So our path was similar in that way. It's just another form of education. And so our parents' wish was to have a faith foundation first. And so the thing that they told us all the time was, yeah, go to Amagi, go to Gakui. After that, you can do whatever you want. You know, you weren't bound to it. It's like, okay, yeah, sounds reasonable. You know, when you're young, you're still an empty cup. You don't really know what you're getting yourself into. But I could understand why, especially now, that the foundation of faith that was created through going to Amagi to train, going to seminary at a young age, it really helped create that foundation to rely on as we got older, as we go through all our struggles with our family too. And I went to Japan after high school. So right after high school, graduated in May, went in September. And then in 1998, some of you were not born yet, but in 1998, and so during that time, stayed in Amagi for about 2.5 years, and I'm Konkokyo Honbu for a year for seminary. And I came back to Hawaii after that.
Were there any other, I guess let's say, any other practices of Konko faith that you didn't understand at the time? I mean, like even if it's something like Doshimai or the offering or parts of the service. I mean, did you just all take that as normal because both your parents were ministers?
No, yeah, so that's interesting you asked that. Because in Amagi, Konko Church Amagi, we were trainees or shigosen, and that's where they teach you everything. And their foundation is about gratitude. So everything you say arigatou gozaimasu or sasete itadakimasu, you're allowed to, you get to. And so we said arigatou gozaimasu dozens of times a day for everything and anything. And so this mentality of like having gratitude for everything that you do really started becoming a foundation, because you don't think about that. You know how like Kawa Sensei talks about 1,000 thank yous a day? And the reasoning for that is because the more you practice it, initially it's just to practice it. But then after that, you take it into heart and you start realizing, oh, it's real. And so then that heart of gratitude starts growing. And the way we do things is also, that same heart of gratitude is also in everything we do. And saying it is true, but like doing it's hard. You know, we're human, so we mess up. We're not consistent. I'm not consistent, but it's about trying to get back on track again, because it's, you know, our faith, our life, it's going to ebb and flow. It's going to go up and down, up and down. There are times when it's like, I don't feel like having faith. Am I practicing enough? And sometimes when we're going through a lot, we put full devout faith into it. But often it's just all about experience and growing with it. Yeah.
One of the things that I have respected a lot about you is the amount of goyo that you do. Like, but it's not just like big projects, but it's just little things, you know, like cleaning up at the church or like helping other people, you know, and it's just, is there a point that for you that you just feel this is too much? Like you feel, because most of the time I've seen you do it with a smile on your face, you know, and I try. I do not have a smile on my face all the time, but you always have seemed to. I mean, do you attribute that to that foundation of appreciation that you received?
Yes, yeah, it's that heart of goyo.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it, the role models were my parents. And I seen them, they wake up in the morning, they do their goyo. Even if nobody's there at church, they still hold the full service. There's only us, the family. You know, we barely have enough to make ends meet at the time, but we still do everything that's required for service. And, you know, it's the goyo that we do, it's not for somebody. It's for coming somebody. It's an appreciation. So it's like even the goyo that I do, it may not even be enough to give back in that way. And so that's why I feel it's not really much of a burden, because I get to do this. You know, I'm allowed to do this. And so that mentality really helps keep me going. And in seeing all the other ministers and believers as well, they're all doing the same thing. They're all really putting their wholehearted effort. Like when I see the goyo, people doing goyo at Successful Church, they're also smiling too. Yeah. I don't see much complaining or grumbling while they're doing it. Yeah. And that really inspires me as well. So we kind of piggyback each other with that kind of energy.
So, one of the phrases I always thought was interesting is being allowed to, you know, because Amy Sensei constantly says that, like whenever I'm talking with her, and I thought it was horrible English, because it's a passive tense, it's, you know, and it's just super wordy, and it took me a long time to understand,
Yeah.
you know, not that, you know, we do want to do things, but ultimately we are allowed to through kami, you know, and I guess that's something that it did take me a while, you know, because like, you know, Amy would do a lot of work and I would just feel like, oh, you know, you gotta cut back, you know, but she did it with more or less a smile on her face, and like, it's just like you, and that's something that I've really admired and respect about you.
Thank you.
I guess all of these questions were just to set a background for people who may not know you, like as well as I do. But this year's theme is praying to Tenshi Kana no Kami. And one of the things that we have done in the youth camp before was to give thanks, you know, offer apologies, and then make requests, you know. And it's a very general structure, but I feel that it covers kind of the qualities and the order that we should be doing in our prayers, you know. And maybe it's like you were saying, that we do just need a form to follow, to build up reps, so that we're comfortable with it and it becomes natural, and then we can improvise. Do you still follow that when you're praying?
Yeah. The gratitude, apology, request, that order that we talked about. And no, you could go straight to request, because sometimes you gotta request for something urgent is happening. You can't be like, oh, I apologize for this. Oh no, somebody's getting too acid. It's too long. And so I think there's no specific order, but I think it's addressing those things when it's the right time. Like the reflection, apology part, it's when we have some time to have that time to reflect. You know, and that's it's like this quiet time we have in youth camp, but it's that time when nothing's really going on, nothing urgent, you have your gratitude, and then you can reflect, like, did I do something bad that hurt me, hurt others? Did I waste things? Did I miss? Did I treat someone bad? There's like all these things that you have time to reflect. Oh, yeah, thank you.
I see. So, I mean, my follow-up was, do you focus on one part more than another? But I suppose you just said it depends on the occasion.
Yes, it depends on the situation. Yeah. But appreciation is a huge one. But a big one is the request. A big one. Because, there's a lot of people going through sickness, accidents, illness, chronic conditions, and they need prayer. They request. They come to pray to help alleviate some of that grief, some of that difficulty, some of that burden. And so praying for them, requesting to come to someone to help ease some of that burden.
So, I suppose, as a minister, and you sat behind the
Mediation desk.
yes,
Yes.
the desk. I was thinking line, I was thinking table. After all the time that you spent being a mediator, like, how has that changed your perspective on the value of mediation? Because as a kid, it was something you had to do with your parents, and then eventually it became a little more natural. But then as a minister, as an associate minister, as a head minister now, like with that, I feel like there's more responsibility, but how has that changed on the value of mediation for people, or has it always been the same?
No, yeah, it really changed over these many years. I've seen people change night and day. Took a long time, over 10 years, but people change. There's this change that goes on where the first things that come out is not a complaint, not ranting about something, but it's more like, this was a blessing, even no matter how small, like the restaurant owner gave me a free sandwich, that's a blessing, and so, but to be able to recognize these mundane, everyday things, it's huge, because we get inundated with a lot of mundane little things, right? And that becomes really huge over time, because we hold on to that, these tidbits of difficulty. But if we hold on to those little bits of gratitude, those moments where it's like, it's something to be grateful for. Something to be grateful for. Kind of, I go back to College Sensei a lot because he emphasizes it every time. Is the thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. Thank you for this. And with that, there's less room for complaining. But it doesn't mean to eliminate complaining too, because it's an important thing that we were blessed with as well. It's about managing how much we complain. And complaint is there to improve things. Because it's a way, it's to kind of point out what we're doing wrong. What can we improve on? How can we make it better? Am I doing something that could be better? And so that's what the complaint is there for. But if we do too much of that, I think that's where it becomes an issue. So with a go faith, everything in moderation. Yeah. And so, but I feel like it's an 80-20 rule. You know how 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, applies to a lot of things in life. Where it's like 20% complaint is okay, whereas the 80% is about gratitude. I was trying to see that in that way. Yeah, but I really see the value with Tutsi. And it's increasing even more so now with the availability of Zoom. Yeah, it's a lot more accessible now. Yeah.
I guess listening to you talk, and you use the term complaining, like, is that the same as requests? Like, because I don't know, I feel like if you're coming up to the mediation seat, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable complaining, I guess. Maybe that's just me. I might make requests, that address whatever it is that I will be complaining about. But do you get people that are just...
Yeah. I feel it's a really important place to do that, because I won't judge them on what they're complaining about. And so the analogy that I like to give is the church is a toilet. I know it sounds bad, but it's kind of that. You go to the toilet every day, relieving yourself of the same stuff. Some people come to church to relieve themselves of the same stuff. They complain or have to let go of the things that are within them. And if they keep that in there day after day, it's not good for your health. And so it's the same with our emotional, spiritual, mental health. I think it's important to let that go. And that if there's a place where you are allowed to do that, I think that's really important. Yeah. And so my role as ministry, like I remember there's a minister in Japan, I forgot his name, but he told us that we're a pipeline. And so it's really important that our pipes are clean. Not me judging the person speaking and filtering it and then offering what I want to Kami-sama. It's not. My job is to allow that flow to Kami-sama. Without tainting it with my judgment, with my understanding, with my logic or whatever I feel. Because it's really, that's what Honko-sama, that's what Kami-sama would want. They would want the seeker and all of their stuff to be offered to Kami-sama. And you let the Kami-sama manage it. I think that's really important, yeah. So it's a place where it's okay. And I'd rather have people unload at the church than unload to somebody at Walmart. Or, right, where you might see those YouTube videos. And so, I would rather you do it privately in the church with the minister, with Kami-sama. I think it's a safer place to do so. I know, speechless, but it's really an important place to be able to unload. And so there's this, I asked Carl Sensei one time too, why is there so much going on in the world? And he says that our cups are full. Everyone's cup is full, right? Our cup is full, my cup is full. Everyone has a pretty full cup, and one little drop can make you go awry, right? You see that with road rage, with people abusing, with people getting mad and angry. One little drop can make that overflow. And so if you go to church and you could dump out a little bit, you have a little bit more space to allow other things to be able to flow in, like your gratitude. Pray for other people, pray for yourself, pray for all these things. But there needs to be space to do that. And if that space isn't created or made or there, it won't happen, right? Like think about when we're angry or mad or irritated. It's completely impossible to be grateful. Oh, I should be grateful for the shopping. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't happen. You have to let it out. You have to let it out. And the founder was ahead of his time in pretty much talk therapy, where people can talk about what they're doing, what's going on in their life. It makes the space to be able to absorb or listen to these teachings to help improve their life.
I guess, I don't know, because, you say talk therapy, and that is what it feels like to me. And I don't know if there's a certain type of decorum, like propriety that I guess I impose on myself, when I go to the cat guy, when I go to opera, I'm always trying to center myself before I go up, to think about what I want to say, what I'm actually feeling, And I can't imagine myself, maybe, but like 90% of the other ministers, I would not just go up and, and I guess, I feel like that's really interesting, because I always, because I think part of my time going to mediation is just trying to feel what Kami wants to tell me. You know what I mean? Like even before I start sharing things, just like, I'm thinking about sharing this, do I feel like, I guess like, do I feel like I'm going to get an answer, And I guess that's really what people want. A lot of times, it took me a long time to actually be comfortable going to mediation. Like growing up, for me, I was our head minister was Kimura sensei, and he spoke mostly Japanese, so I went with my bachan and my mom, you know, and he would speak Japanese to them, and I just kind of sat there, you know, and then, you know, even then, like when I had to start going on my own, you know, I really didn't say much. And then Oya sensei came, like in the early 90s, and even then that was difficult for me. It wasn't until early 2000s that I actually felt comfortable talking and sharing, just like, oh, I want to do these things. And I guess that has affected how I look at things. Like in mediation, you know, it's just, you know, that it's a propriety thing. You know, it's just that you should be formal. You know, you should be calm. You know, and it's just like, I don't think that's necessarily taught.
Yeah.
But it's just like reflexive, you know, because like I don't think I was given any instruction. My mother, bless her, never told me, my grandmother never told me anything, you know, anything I learned, it was by watching.
Yeah.
You know, so, and even then it was, I felt it was very superficial, you know, the things that I was sharing. So listening to you, it's interesting because in San Francisco, you do get a lot of walk-ins. But would you say, like, those are the people who tend to just unload, or I mean,
It takes time too, because there has to be the trust. Yeah, a sense of trust with being in that place. In you don't want you can be intimidated, right? You're in this worship hall, big worship hall. You're kind of a minister, and you don't even know them still. But it's after over time, they'll realize that, oh, I feel safe to be able to express. Oh, I didn't get attacked for talking about this kind of thing. And so we get the whole spectrum of people talking about everything you can think of at the mediation desk. And one important thing too is that even if the minister doesn't understand English or doesn't feel like you don't feel like you connect, all that is secondary because the person sitting there, the minister sitting there, is a representative of Honko-san. And so that even if nobody's sitting there, you could still go to mediation because it's about the spirit of them. And so you'll still receive blessings, you'll still receive ohage, even if you might feel that it wasn't transferred or toritsugu or like connected with the person. But the fact that you're going there to seek toritsugu mediation, it really does result in ohage. It was. Yeah. So it's not. It's important though to be able to connect with the person seeking help. I think it would be a big plus, but it's not everything.
like, we've talked about this briefly, but, you know, when you're talking about the value of ohage, I feel like somebody explained it to me once, you know, like, ohage is the blessing that you receive, like, in an event, you know, like, you know, maybe something turned out well, you know, you traveled safely, you got an A on a test, you didn't get hurt, like, in an accident maybe. I feel like that's ohage, you know, and that is very real. That's a very real experience when you feel like things could have been much worse, but you know, because I prayed beforehand, you know, or I sought mediation, like, you know, and that makes you want to go back, you know, just to give thanks. But you know, I guess one of the things, you know, the thanks apology request format is that I feel, you know, people do want to complain because you said our lives are busy. People do have a lot of asks, you know, because it's just, there's a lot of things that they need. But how do you feel the value of hearing what Kami wants to say to you? Because mediation is, yeah, you know, it is mutual, yeah, you know, it is that.
Low battery.
No.
Low battery? that images. There's no battery in this. Sorry.
If you pass it back and forth.
Oh, I guess we just, yeah.
So, I guess what I'm saying is that, you know, people have requests to comment, you know, that they have hardships, you know, and they're seeking relief. But at the same time, Kami's wish for people is to live like children of Kami, to follow the way of the universe, you know, to live in a way that's appropriate. And I mean, how do you share that with people? Because when people are telling you things, I know that you said your kind of MO right now is to spend maybe 80% of the time listening, you know, and 20% saying something, but how do you communicate? Like, I'm sure that for some people, like Kami is trying to tell you, you know, communicate this to them, even if you weren't aware of it, you know, something came out. Like, do you kind of hold that back, or are you just like talking? I mean, like at 80% listening, doesn't sound like there's much time for you to say anything.
Yeah, sometimes I don't need to say anything. Sometimes people just need to relay their prayers, what's inside their heart. And my role is to listen. And I think it's so important that we listen. Because if I was talking the whole time, guaranteed the other person would feel like they're not being listened to. I'm not being attuned, I'm not being present. I think it's really important to be actively listening, to take mental notes, and we jot down the prayers that people come to. We just take some brief notes and we offer those notes at the end of the day and pray for the people. But I really feel that listening part is so important. The reason why too, there was a minister, Amagasaki Church, Shohei Tsuda Sensei. He came to KCNA, also went to KMH to talk about Toritsugi, how to be a better Toritsugi person. And he taught us a lot about our mindset, our behavior, how to listen. And he said, even if they say nothing and it's just silent, even that's important. Let the person sit in silence, because your role is to be the ears for Kami-sama. Maybe that. And so that connection, and for them to sit in their silence, they can think about things, because they have more space. And it's a safe space to do so. And then they'll start talking more about what's going on in their lives. Yeah.
Working?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I mean, we are talking a lot about mediation right now. I mean, I feel that, personally, when we were talking, I felt that mediation is an important part of our relationship with Kami. You know, if we're talking about frank attention on Kami, yes, there is the individual effort that we're putting in, you know, maybe when we're alone at home or in the car, like, that is something. But I really feel that if we want to really think about your relationship with Kami, like, then that, during mediation, is the best time. But what can you tell me just about praying? Praying to Tenchi Kami no Kami, like, if you had to sum it up in a sentence,
Yeah.
what would it be?
It shouldn't be super long where you won't do it, where you won't practice it. It has to be doable. And so my prayers in the morning are very brief. You know, wake up in the morning, I say my greetings, and I wish for the day to go well, and then I go to do whatever I do in the day. And at the end of the day, I also go back to my home altar, and then I think it's a good day, great day, thank you for this happening. Wish I didn't teach you, and then praying for the next day to be okay too. But it's maintaining that relationship. It's just like when you wake up in the morning, you say good morning to your parents, you say good morning to the people around you. It's that kind of greeting. And by constantly doing that, you could develop a relationship over time. And also just through prayer, there's this that confirmation bias. Yeah, you can probably look it up on YouTube what that really means, but it's about when something good happens and then you correlate it with what you did, and it confirms it, and it keeps going and going and going. So, oh, I prayed, I did Toitsigi, I got Okage. Maybe it's working. I'm gonna try that again. And you keep confirming that. It's like, oh, it does work. And then I think that's what faith is. It starts to build over time. You're not gonna receive blessings or realize or understand the faith instantly. It takes years, it takes decades even, according to a lot of teachings, but it's just the most consistent, the most important thing is that consistency, yeah, being there, just showing up, I think is really important.
I guess that consistency for you, has that been something that's always been present since you were younger? Like, do you feel like you have been more consistent as you've gotten older? Or do you feel like,
More consistent.
like,
As it got
it's
older.
gotten bigger, it's working?
Yeah, more consistent just because of that confirmation. It really correlates with the prayer, with the mindset, with the setting up your day in the morning and ending it on a prayer note too. I think it's really important to be consistent in that way, and it's gotten more consistent over time, especially with like various hardships and difficulties you've gone through or have gone through. Yeah, that prayer really helps.
You know, if you had to sum up, what is the most helpful tip you think people should know about Kami's presence in their life? Like, if you were talking to somebody who was a very, very casual believer, or somebody who was just off the street and came in and just wanted to know something, what is that most important thing that you could say about Kami in our daily lives? You know, like about Kami's presence, I guess. Is there something that you could distill it down to?
Yeah. And so this faith is about reframing. This faith is about reframing everything, reframing it towards a faith perspective. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I want people to take away. Because we have experiences every day, all different kinds. But it's about, do we frame it in a way where it's just negative, oh, this is happening to me, this is happening to me, and it just keeps spiraling down? Or do we reframe it in a way where it could actually, we can learn from this? It's a faith practice opportunity. And taking it in that way really helps with the mindset of what we're going through. Reframing.
I don't know. I mean, I agree with you just about reframing things, because just even in planning this year, for family camp, for the conference, for your presentation in the beginning, and then this conversation. A lot of it was just stress and worry, because like deadlines were coming quick.
Yeah.
I guess really one of the things that did help was just being able to focus on, will this help people? Will they be able to listen and take something from this? Even if we're not always making sense, even if we're just kind of talking and, just as an aside, one of the best times Rodney Sensei and I have conversations is just over like beer and snacks, just like at a restaurant or a brewery or something.
Have a great day.
We do have some really good conversations. So like right now we're both sober and hungry. So we're trying.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll wrap it up a little bit, but I guess just for people, I know that, like youth campers, people at San Francisco Church, people in Hawaii, they all really appreciate, the work in Goyo that you do. I mean, I do, obviously, I appreciate your friendship, but what kind of inspiration, do you think you provide? And who has been an inspiration for you in your faith life?
Oh, everyone. Everyone, yeah, really. Because it wouldn't happen without everyone. Right? Joanne Sensei, she's super on it. I was gonna say with all the logistics and finances, everything, they're on it. And Eiji-san, he's 96 now, and he's still walking and talking and he's a driver. Which kind of concerns you. But it's a lot. It's everybody. It's the believers. It's the ministry. It's everyone. Even the community. Greg, right? Part of our community, Japantown community. He's helping to make things happen. It's never just me. It's impossible with just me. The reason why we do this is because I know that there's people there. That it's so important that to realize that blessing, that I'm not doing this alone. And if I was doing this alone, I'll get pregnant. I have a mental breakdown probably. Right. And so it's about realizing that we're not in it alone. And it's that foundational aspect of Homokyo. It's the Ayokakeo. It's a confusing topic maybe, but it's just about that. It's about how everyone here made it work. Like with youth camp. Wonderful. I thought it went great. No one got hurt. No one was crying. And so, no hospital visits, no broken bones. Success. And so, they made it work. Everybody watched out for each other. We forgot somebody by accident, but we made it up. And then we went back to the outing to make it up to this person. And I felt that was really important. If we left them out and we didn't go back to do the activity that this person missed out on, I think there would be a hole there. There would be like a void of oh, I didn't get to participate fully. But because everyone worked together, that's why it worked out. Everyone here, you, all the staff, everyone here is working together to make this happen. So I think to really understand that is really important.
I guess, we've really tried to talk about, the relationship with Kami, about praying to Kami. And a lot of these other asides that we've had, for me, have just been about how, you're right, there is the Ayokakeo aspect where the community of people like we are now, it's not just your church, my church, but it's just the community of believers in North America, in Japan and Hawaii. But, really how we treat our relationship with others, or how we treat our relationship with Kami, should be how we treat our relationship with others, especially other believers right now. And that's something that I really wanted people to kind of focus on. And I hope that, some of the things we talked about, just hearing your perspective on it, I hope it was a little easier for you than writing.
Yeah.
Writing, 15 pages.
Yeah.
But we still have a lot more questions, but I really want to just wrap it up and maybe move to a question and answer if people had any for us. But, I did just want to say thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, thank you again to Reverend Rodney Yano. Were there any questions from the audience?
Q?
Something?
Yes.
Oh, Mike.
You want to?
Hello, my name is Quentin from the San Francisco Conco Church.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I can personally attest for your great energy, radiant smile, and I've definitely received a lot of blessings from Kami-sama through you. And I'm just curious, because like my man said, I have never seen you upset, angry. I've always seen you with a smile on your face, like great energy. How do you keep that going? And not only that, but like in moments where I'm sure you're only human also, and I'm sure you've experienced anger and frustration as well. What do you do in those moments to bring you back to that heart of Gilyo that you were just talking about?
Yeah, it's a good question. I say Konko-sama. it's fundamental. And so I've been teaching the youth campers too, to just say Konko-sama. Even if you don't say it verbally, say it in your heart. It's a mantra. It's something that the founder said, that if you want to connect, if you want some kind of connection with Kami-sama to help ease this burden of humanity in ourselves, is to pray. Just say Konko-sama. That it's a simple, short word that will connect us to the divine. And it's helped me, it's helped everyone, it's helped Dennis Sensei, it's helped, and so that's something that was taught constantly, especially from our mom. So our mom, you might have known that she would scream at the TV saying Koko-sama, or the ice skaters falling in the Olympics, or maybe the World Cup even, that if somebody gets hurt or an explosion happens, she'll say Koko-sama during the movie. And they'll be like, but that will show how much of a part it's ingrained in her, and it's influenced me as well. And also this mentality of I get to do this, I'm allowed to do this. And what really changed me, especially, was during the past 3.5 years, we were doing caregiving, almost 24/7 caregiving for my wife's father. He had all kinds of things happening where he was completely bedbound 24/7. And so we were caregivers, and that is exhausting. And like, I commend people who, I think parenting is similar. It's a 24/7 gig, I'm sure. So I commend you with multiple kids as well. But the amount of energy and potential burnout is there. But what happened was, we visited a friend in Hilo. And his name is Sori Kabanas. I think it's really important I say his name because he really inspired me. His son got into a motorcycle accident. And he was wearing a helmet and all, but it was a serious accident where he became completely disabled. And he took care of him for 11 years straight, 24/7. And it's like, how did you do it? And what he said was, I get to love my son every day. I get to love my son every day. And that really changed me. Because he says that, he's allowed this. It was a hokage. It was a blessing that he can be there to take care of his son. And after hearing that, no complaints. Wiping everything, cleaning everything, lifting everything. Yeah, it was something that I get to do this for my father-in-law. And he passed away in September. Is that right? But we went through so much. And I think it's really important that we're allowed to do this. And so, reflecting back on that we get to do this, we're allowed to do this. Just like we're here today. We're to have the privilege to be flying all the way to Toronto during World Cup final week, where it's a super expensive prices, but we're still allowed to be here. We're still allowed to be here to be amongst the believers in support of each other. Going back to the Ayokakyo spirit again. We're together, and that's why it works. Thank you. You're amazing. You're so amazing. Thank you. Oh man, yeah. So yeah, but that mentality of I get to do this really changed how I do this, and that's why I can keep that smile. I see my parents doing the same thing. I see a lot of ministers doing the same thing. No matter how hard it gets, they still get it done. Because it's not about myself, it's about the whole. It's about Kami-sama, it's about each other. It's about nurturing that relationship. And I feel that's really important to be like role models. Each one of us is a role model of Konkokyo. And so some of the things I heard that people say in our community is, Konko people are so nice. That's a compliment. It's not a complaint. And it goes to show that it's about the community. It's about maintaining that and nurturing that is what helps me every day to keep smiling. And I think smiling is really important too. It's better than being sad. But thank you. Thanks so much for watching.
Were there any other questions from the audience? Please.
Why did you want to become a Coco believer? Why did you become a Coco believer?
A Coco believer? Oh, I was actually born in the church. Yeah, I was born and raised in the Coco Mission of Waihawa, in the middle of Oahu. Yeah, in the countryside. You know where the Dole Plantation is, where you get your pineapple ice cream? That little town, yeah, where there's like good poke and shige saimentu, little PR. But yeah, we were raised in this tradition. And so we felt it was just a natural way to continue the faith, because our family wouldn't exist without the faith. And so it's just a way of kind of giving back in that way. Thank you, Lucy. Oh, yes. Josh, in the back.
Other than during service, when would you pray for kami-sama versus koko-sama versus other mitamas?
Fishing. I pray when I go fishing. Sometimes I catch nothing. Get some sunburn, get some super cold, all kinds of things. But yeah, I really do pray for someone when I go fishing, because Kokokyo is part of nature, and it's like I hope nature cooperates a little bit. My veins are theirs. But yeah, out in nature is when I really feel kami-sama. Yeah, it's interesting. The Koko-sama things is more for like things that need help, relationships, problems, things that are going on. I go to Koko-sama. But if I'm in nature, you feel kami-sama. It's just interesting how that is. Yeah, thank you, Josh.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
Sorry. Yeah, necessary.
So at the Kikai things you talk about, and you're encouraging people in a lot of concepts that come up, which is really great. How do you encourage people to put those ideas that they learn or hear from kami-sama, the words from kami-sama, into an action plan?
To just try it. Try it. Because you gotta see it for yourself. You could read all about it, right? Like with anything, with any experiences, you can read about it, you can read it and read it and whatnot, but if you experience it yourself, it's different. There's an experience point that you're gaining. And so I think just try it. Like with the Koko-sama prayer, try it. Try it. See how it works. But try it not more than once. Just keep trying. Even if it doesn't work initially. Because as you deepen your faith, as you progress, you'll realize as you reflect back that, oh, this was a blessing, that was a blessing. And that's the goal, is to look back. But just try it, even if it's simple. And that's what I like about Uncle Kyo is that it's simple. But it's hard, because it's so simple. But just try that. Say Koko-sama in your heart as a direct prayer, and it really does work. John? Oh, John. Well, the hard questions.
So I know you grew up in the faith and you were brought up and raised in it, but I know growing up even myself in the faith, I had a transitional moment where it was like, I believe.
Yeah.
Did you ever have it? I mean, like,
Yes.
obviously as a kid, you weren't like, I believe.
Yeah.
You might have been told to believe or trained to believe, but in your personal experience, was there a defining moment or experience that made you say,
Yeah.
that I believe, and can you share that?
Yes, yeah. There was a couple. I guess when I was younger, and I had this shared before, there was this fax machine issue where it was going awry, and I was panicking as a little kid. And my mom said, pray to the fax machine. It stopped. And I was like, oh man, it worked. works. And then another one was in, well, that was the fishing license story that many people yeah, I was fishing without a license. And then the first time, the game warden came by, and I lied. I was playing dumb, and I didn't have a license, but I didn't. I forgot my license, but I actually didn't have a license. And then the second time he came around, he caught me without a license. And then, but it landed on graduation, high school graduation, when I had to go to court. And so I was like, I can't go to court on high school graduation. I thought it was impossible to change. And I prayed hard on it, and then we called, and they said, oh yeah, you can change your date. And so again, that is the simple Kumkusama prayer for these needs that we have. And so, faith starts with these inconveniences and difficulties. But the biggest thing that really nailed it was when I was in a Amagi church, we cut firewood. We cut with axes, chainsaws, and table saws. And you might have heard this story as well, but I was cutting firewood, and my hand got sucked into the circular saw going this way. It was a big circular saw, and it went bam, and I just felt a weird sensation in my hand. And then I saw a lot of blood coming out through it, and I started panicking because the glove got caught in the plate and stuck my finger. And so this one went in, and he cut it this way, and then this knuckle broke because it went in and bent it out this way. But no nerves were damaged, and I still have my fingers. And it's a giant saw blade, but I still have my fingers. And I was saying Kumkusama like a maniac, just running around. Because that's all I could do. And even during the stitching process, I was saying Kumkusama. The doctor was like, what are you saying? What are you saying? I'm saying Kumkusama. And that was the biggest one at my young age. I was like 19, 20, during that time when I had that hand accident. Another thing that happened was when I was in Hambu, there was these towel hangers, and I was washing my hands to bend down. The towel hanger, which was rusty and dark, poked right here.
Wow.
Right here. I could have lost my eye, but I didn't.
Oh.
And that's another divine arrangement, man.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. My senior students in Kobe Daikai. And so during this, the youth festival in Amagi, when we went to work with Amagi. But there was all these incidents and these accidents that I could definitely say I was being watched over by Kami-sama. It was Okage, it was a blessing. And that really made me really believe that, things will be all right. And that's my whole mentality, is this Japanese phrase that I say in my mind, nantoka naru desho, nantoka naru desho, which means things will be all right. Things will be all right. And I pray to Kami-sama with that too. And of course there's a lot of worry and anxiety and uneasiness, but in the end, reflecting back on it, things were all right. Like even today, this interview, a lot of anxiety. I think it went all right. But yeah, so that's what it is. Thank you, John. Oh yes. Oh, written.
Hi, Rodney.
Hi.
My question for you is, there are a lot of people who are believers, or people who are believers who just basically do a lot of research and study. How do you get them to translate research and study and all those things to actually learning about and actually growing in the faith by actually acting on the faith?
Yeah, it's that practice. It's that practice. And choosing simple, doable teachings. Because there's thousands of teachings in the Gorikai, in the Kyoto, in the sacred scriptures, there's thousands. But it's choosing one that really resonates with you. Because not all teachings are supposed to be for everyone. Some of the teachings were meant for a specific person. And that's why there's some contradictory teachings in there too. And so it's about choosing one or a few that really resonate with you and practicing that. And then again, you'll see the results of that with practice. But I really feel the most important one is connecting through the founder by saying Gonpa-sama. The Tenji Kakitsuke is a simple, pretty short prayer you can say daily as well. And really putting that into mind when we're doing our work. Whatever you do, going to school, doing work, relationships, everything. A little bit of faith can be incorporated into that. And then this idea again of being allowed to do this. Yeah. So whenever you're doing your dishes, a whole pile of dishes, or you're stuck in traffic, or you're gotta go to work, have to do this. Change it into like, oh, I get to go to work, I have a job, I get to do these dishes because I have a home and dishes to eat and groceries. It's something people would trade their life for, to have these simple privileges. So, kids, help your parents. And another thing too, for the kids too, a way to really practice the faith is just say thank you to your parents. I think a little thank you, a little apology goes a long way. They sacrifice everything for you. And so, saying a thank you at the end of the day, today, that's your homework, is to say thank you to your parents, even if you text them.
Thank you, Rodney Sensei. If people do have more questions, please feel free to ask him during the weekend or afterwards. I think we'll end this presentation time. Thank you. Again, can we have one more round of applause?